It's spooky season, and this time of year we all love to put on those terrifying movies that make us live out our nightmares on the screen. But what are the 75 scariest movies of all time? Let's find out in this episode of Raiders of the Lost Podcast.
What's up, movie friends? Welcome back to Raiders of the Lost Podcast, the ultimate film and TV podcast. We're into spooky season. My favorite genre, horror. I've been on a horror binge already for 2 weeks, and one of the most exciting, freeing genres in filmmaking. There's a difference between what the best horror films are and what the scariest horror films are. They are very different lists.
There's some overlaps.
Yeah, there's some overlaps, but overall very different. I mean, some of the best movies in the horror genre are not the scariest movies, you could argue, and something like Get Out or Rosemary's Baby, terrifying, really great movies, but I wouldn't put in the top 20 of like the scariest movies. So we thought we'd put together a list of what are like the scariest movies, not just scenes, but like movies that we saw either growing up in theaters or have rewatched or watched at home that really made your skin crawl and really got your heart rate going and shocked you and disturbed you and made James squirm in his seat and jump on the couch.
It's been multiple times.
And
I've thrown pillows in the living room.
He has thrown pillows.
I threw pillows the first time I saw House of the Devil across the living room. I love that movie. And dude,
great example. It's
scared
not
the shit out of me.
It's not a top 25 horror movie, but it's a scary as hell movie.
Top 25 favorite horror movie for me, though. I love that one.
So we put together a list of what are just the purest, scariest movies ever made.
And I mean, we might as well start at number 75, but this is our list.
Ours.
Every list is subjective. This isn't the official 75 scariest movies of all time, and I know we'll get the hate comments of, what are you talking about? Why is this movie on here? But this is just our list.
This is the Raider stamp of approval.
Oh, yeah, this is for us. We're more into being terrified versus being grossed out for the most part. Of course, there's some gross movies on here, but when it comes to the gross gore, the gore porn, not huge into that. And for me, that's a different type of scary. That's just being sick to your stomach of just disgust versus I like being scared and terrified. And a lot of these movies do that really effectively.
Yeah, we have some gory movies on here for sure, but we didn't put all of the gory ones on because also it's like
Human Centipede's not going to be on here.
Believe it or not.
That's just a gross fucking movie.
There's movies that do the gore really well, but then there's movies that do the gore where it's just like it's overdone and it's like not even a horror movie, it's more of just like a torture porn fest. And I think that's a different kind of subgenre as well. But these are like the story, the characters, what's happening is what's making the film scary. And so that's why we put in this list together specifically of these certain movies. But James, how about you take it away with the first film on this list?
Number 75, we have a Donald Sutherland film. We have Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the first remake, which was remade in 1978 with an incredible concept. And this is basically, it's an old movie. I'm not going to really spoil the ending. I mean, if you've never seen this movie, watch it ASAP. It's one of the best you'll see. It's an alien film. That's not spoiling anything. It's in the trailer.
Don't worry, man.
I'm just worried.
You're like walking on eggshells.
Because we have to.
So there is an invasion of some sorts.
I know it's called Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but I don't want to spoil that there's an invasion going on. It's an alien invasion film. And Donald Sutherland's excellent in this film. Brooke Adams, Jeff Goldblum in an early role in this film as well. This really has one of the better horror endings or movie endings of all time, in my opinion. Incredible last 60 seconds of this film just really makes it, for me, a all-timer.
What about the last 60 seconds?
Can you please go into great detail of what happens exactly in the last 60 seconds? It's one of those movies where it's a mix of like a whodunit, but also conspiracy. You know, our main characters are starting to understand slowly that there's something happening into the city in San Francisco. People are different. Their friends are starting to change. And slowly but surely they understand and learn that aliens are invading the planet. They're invading the city and spreading like a disease.
Oh my God, spoilers.
Until it's almost too late. But they do hatch a plan to try to get out of the city alive. It's awesome. And again, very terrifying because you don't know who you can trust in this film. Mm-hmm. And it's great on rewatches, too, because then you get to see the characters you know who have become aliens as doppelgangers. You get to see their mannerisms, how they've changed their performances for actors and actresses to see what they do a little differently, so you can kind of pick up on little details in their roles to see whether or not they're giving away or not. It's awesome. It's terrifying. Great gore. Great body horror as well. It's an excellent film.
It's hard to make your film scary on rewatches, and this is a movie that holds up every time you watch it. It's still scary.
I'm still on the edge of my seat every time.
Yeah. It's just so well done. Really well directed. Now, next up at number 74, we have something a little more fun with Trick or Treat, which is an anthology horror film which came out in 2007. Long time
I feel
ago.
old. Yeah, I remember getting this on Netflix DVD mail orders.
This is a really fun horror movie. It's got some great scares. It's an anthology that hits a lot of your favorite beats, whether it be slashers, werewolves, vampires, supernatural. There's a lot of great elements to it. And I really like the characters. The cast is a lot of fun. We have a huge ensemble of great actors, really fun stories, and it's really surprising, and it gets very gory. It opens with a great slasher opening, lots of great blood, lots of great gore, but just good thrills, and it's hard to pull off the anthology. A lot of people have tried it, but there's only a handful that we have on this list because there are some good ones, but then it's hard to, with the anthologies, for maybe there's 6 to 10 shorts in it, for them all to be good. In this film, for the most part, everything works, and it's like even hard to pick your favorite bit. You know what I mean? And I do like how it's all connected on one Halloween night in like one area, and all these things are different stories are happening. They're kind of connected, but not really. But it's a really good time. Great scares, great thrills, and it's a yearly watch.
Brian Cox is in this movie. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Then Anna Paquin has a big role in this movie. It's really entertaining, blending horror movies with old fairy tales and old stories like Little Red Riding Hood, The Big Bad Wolf. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy Trick or Treat.
It's also one of my favorite werewolf movies.
It's a great werewolf film. I hope that someday they make a sequel to this movie because I think it'd be really great. And creating a little horror icon with, what's his name from Trick or Treat? The little guy, Sam?
Sam.
Sam?
Yeah.
I think so.
Little Sam. Sammy Sam.
Number 73 on our list, we have a Zack Snyder movie. We have his first theatrical film, right?
Correct.
With Dawn of the Dead in 2004, the remake off of George A. Romero's original screenplay by James Gunn on this as well. Dawn of the Dead, solid. All around, really good zombie film coming in the 2000s. You know, we're coming off 28 Days Later. And so the fast zombies are really booming this time. That's kind of, these couple films have gotten us to where we are today with them, with films like Train to Busan. And I think that this helped so much with the genre, for the zombie genre, by adding rejuvenation to it, like 28 Days Later. And for as far as remakes go, it's really entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, our crew, our cast, they're stuck inside this mall. It's the last place for refuge they can find. Really great horror opening of the family attack with the nurse, one of the main characters.
That
surviving.
alone puts it on this list.
It's really great. And I think this movie's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of great humor. You know, when they're shooting out celebrities because it takes place in Los Angeles, they snipe out like Burt Reynolds, and they're talking and communicating with the guy across the street who's the ammunition dealer. And overall, there's some parts of this movie that make me scream to the TV. You know, I get a little annoyed with saving the dog and putting everyone at risk, stuff like that. But the dog's also really effective at getting food across the street. So lots of cool elements that they added to we're remaking an original film, but what can we do a little different to it? The characters are entertaining. We have the baby zombie, which is pretty crazy and a lot of fun.
Oh man.
But everyone does a great job in their roles and their performances. Great gore, terrifying, really cool sequences, tons of extras, absolute mobs of zombies. A lot of fun, and I really like the ending too with the found footage at the end.
It's one of the best horror remakes. It's up there. It's just really well done, and it's scary, and it really works. It does from start to finish, and I remember we saw it with Dad when we were like 14. Yeah. It was an awesome time.
I know Zack Snyder haters are gonna hate us
for putting him.
It is what it is. It's a good movie. It's a good horror flick.
It's a good movie.
It is.
It absolutely is.
If this came out today, people would really dig it.
I dig it. It's much better than his other zombie movie. All right, number 72. We got our first vampire film with 30 Days of Night, which is a really solid vampire movie set in Alaska. And we get this period in the season where the sun is not going to come up for 30 days, which is just ripe for vampire bloodlust
and activity.
This is a really great cast. We got Josh Hartnett, Melissa George, Denny Houston, Ben Foster, a bunch of great actors. I really like this movie. Josh Hartnett's a good lead, and Melissa George is great supporting, but Danny Houston's like the leader of the vampires. I really like the vampire designs of this that made them feel very beast-like, not in terms of like how they're built, but like in terms of their teeth and how they kill. They're more reminiscent of like wild animals than like a vampire who courts their victim or anything. So I really like the brutal nature of it. Once things get going, it's a really genius concept. This is based on a graphic novel of there's a small community in Alaska, and they got a month without sun, and vampires want to eat them all. Obviously, it's a great setup. Really good gore. I love the vampires have black eyes, which is really cool. There's some really good scenes. It's scary. They did a good job with this. It's not the best movie ever. And again, like if we were gonna make a list of 100 greatest horror movies, this wouldn't be on the list. But scariest movies, it's on the list. It's a scary movie. They did a great job from start to finish of keeping the audience on edge, surprising, great kills, great attacks. I really enjoyed the film. It's a really solid vampire movie.
Let's talk about an animal monster movie next. At 71, we have Crawl. We talked about this in our best horror movies you've never seen episode a month ago.
This is basically a Crawl podcast.
And Crawl's an excellent film. If you've never seen it, came out in 2019. It takes place in Florida, right? And it's about this high school swimmer girl, or I think she's in college. And
high school swimmer girl.
High school swimmer girl. You know how I string a sentence? I have a knack for that. High school swimmer girl. Bunch of adjectives just thrown into one. And there's massive flooding from this hurricane that sweeps through the city and the states. The levee breaks, and her whole town, her whole city's underwater for several feet. And she's forced to be trapped in the crawl space of her home looking for her dad as well, who's missing. And on the loose are massive, scary, terrifying alligators. Or crocodile. I'm pretty sure.
I never get them right.
I think it's alligators.
I think it's, I'm not going to say because I can never... Crocodiles have the long snouts, right?
Well, it's not the snout. It's more of the teeth positioning is important because one of them has... We talked about this when we talked about alligators
I just never remember which is which. Crocodiles...
Alligators in this. So in alligators are everywhere. They're flying. They're floating around everywhere, hunting humans. And this young girl who's an experienced swimmer.
The snout is the best way to tell the difference.
Snout and the teeth.
So alligators have a broad, round snout, and crocodiles have the narrow, pointed snout.
Yeah. And then she's trying to find her father because everyone's pretty much evacuated the city except for her looking for her dad, played by Barry Pepper. And it's terrifying. It's really unique in the horror genre and movie monster genre. We've seen alligator crocodile movies before. Lake Placid, of course, the giant alligator, giant crocodile. It's been done before. But to see more of a higher total and a higher population of alligators, just normal size, still pretty big.
Yeah.
But themselves are terrifying. Like me being face to face with an alligator.
It's like
in
a
water,
dinosaur.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to face that at all. And it's really great, unique, never seen anything quite like it before. Awesome suspense, and just great filmmaking.
Yeah, it puts the lead character, in crazy situations, and it's really cool seeing the alligators inside homes because the homes are flooded. You know what I mean?
Just making coffee and watching TV,
cooking some hot pockets, a human hot pocket. But it's great because they did a great job with visual effects and practical alligators, and they look phenomenal. Great kills, and it's just a really fun, exciting, scary movie. This movie makes you jump. It absolutely does. Next up at number 70, we have the first slasher on this list, a movie that is being remade into what is going to go down as the worst trilogy ever, possibly, with The Strangers, the first one, which came out in 2008 with Scott Speedman and Liv Tyler, as well as Glenn Howerton from Dennis from Sonny's in this movie.
That's right. He's the friend, right?
Yeah, he's he's in the wedding party. This is a really solid slasher, a fun home invasion movie, highly successful, making $82 million on $9 million budget. I don't adore this movie, but you really like it, James, so it's on the list.
Yeah, I think
you were like, put The Strangers on. Where's The Strangers?
It's a terrifying movie.
Tell us about it. I don't love it, so you can...
I think because home invasions were sort of booming again, not that they weren't done before, they were in the past, and I think that home invasions was a genre that was picking up steam in the early 2000s, movies like Funny Games as well, the remake that Haneke did of his original, and The Strangers, I think, was terrifying because it felt so real, and it felt authentic, and, seeing the masks through the windows, and... cell phones aren't like they are today, so you really are kind of fucked if
cell phones were very faulty.
They're bluey. Yeah. If you don't have the internet, how are you going to get out of there? How are you going to call for help? So I think that especially the era this movie came out, when it comes to technology, Liv Tyler's great in this movie, but just the eeriness of them being in the background, them suddenly in the house, I think it's a really scary home invasion movie, and it got me real good.
Yeah. Next up, we have our second vampire movie on the list, and that's Salem's Lot, the original, which came out in 1979, directed by Tobe Hooper, who's got another film on this list that we'll get to eventually, that he's most famous for. But Salem's Lot is a really good vampire movie. This movie is based on a Stephen King adaptation. Now, there is a problem with the movie. It's very long. It's 3 hours long. And it takes a while to get things going. But it's a good slow pace. You're getting a sense for the community and all the characters and the mystery that's unfolding. But once things hit the fan, and once the vampire reveals itself and we start getting the kills and the horror comes into play, the last 40 minutes is really good. It's very scary. I love the vampire design in this. It's very traditional. It harkens back to Nosferatu. And I really enjoy the film. It's a good time. And it's a great rewatch. Tobe Hooper is just like really one of the most untalked about horror directors. And he did a great job with this. It's scary. I like the vampire designs of the multiple vampires, but the old vampire is like the iconic one from the poster. But they did a good job with the other vampires. It's a fun time, and it's scary. And this is one of those movies that has aged really well. And I haven't seen the new one. It's getting really bad reviews, so I'm probably not going to watch it. But this is definitely one you should definitely watch.
Yeah, it seems like they switched it to streaming release because it didn't seem like that strong of a film after they made it. And the visuals look okay. I saw some clips earlier and some images. It kind of just looks like generic streamer material, you know? It doesn't look that unique or interesting. It doesn't seem like they garnered a remake with... They were just going to make kind of a streaming feeling movie because they all kind of feel the same.
At the end of the day, it looks like there's a lot of visual effects in that movie, and nothing's as good as the practical like this one.
Yeah.
It's never as good as practical.
I'm sure there's some good parts to it, but I haven't seen it yet, and who knows if I'll watch it. You know, if it was in theaters, I probably would have seen it because I still like vampire movies, and even if they're not great, I'll watch a decent vampire movie anytime. To have that experience in theaters, I think is really great. But unfortunately, it went straight to streaming.
Too bad.
Next up on our list, we have at number 68, As Above, So Below. Great found footage film. I know some people aren't huge fans of the genre, but I think that when found footage is done really well, it's incredibly entertaining and really puts you in the shoes of the characters. You know, we have other found footage movies on this list a little higher that are just terrific. And it really opens the door for some unique filmmaking, some great practical filmmaking, because you can kind of get away with sort of specific size sets or locations. You can do unique things versus having to set up a whole camera crew and lighting and everything. If you're going found footage style, I think you can really take advantage of that. I think the Creep movies are a great example of using found footage to your benefit. And As Above, So Below is about this archaeologist who's trying to find this artifact and gets together a team to go exploring where they believe this artifact is in the catacombs underneath Paris, France. However, it's loosely based off true stories, not what happens to them.
You mean people don't really go to hell?
They find their own personal hell down in the catacombs. It's really terrifying, really scary, and claustrophobia-inducing, and I think just really well done. It's not perfect,
fun.
But it's a good time.
It's a lot of fun, and it's got some good scares, and they get into crazy scenarios, and it's got great surrealist and abstract storytelling, and I like how they connect the horrors of each person's like past and psyche to what's happening on screen, and it's a great film about claustrophobia and being lost. They keep going in circles, and there's no way out. The feeling of being trapped is really well done in that movie. Next up, we got another vampire movie, The Lost Boys.
Oh yeah,
the classic, starring Jason Patric, Kiefer Sutherland, and a bunch of great actors. This is a combination of just being super fun and super scary. Great vampire designs in this. I love it. They're cool and terrifying at the same time. Fun kills. It's also a scary movie. As fun as it is, and as cool as it is, and as 80s as it is, it's also still just a very solid horror movie. Gets the audience, great kills, awesome sequences, and I love I think the scariest sequence is when they're sneaking into the vampire lair when they're sleeping to trying to kill them. And then they all wake up. Like that whole sequence is just awesome horror.
It's great suspense building because they don't really show the vampire attacks really well on purpose until later in the film. Like some of the early attacks include the guy in the convertible or in the car, and we just have like a POV of the camera coming from the sky, coming down to him and picking him up and flying away. It's really cool filmmaking and really terrifying. And this is a movie I wish I was alive to see in theaters when it came out.
That would have been cool.
Because this movie was huge in pop culture. This is a massive film
Yeah.
for, I think, the youth, teenagers, young adults. It's very hip. It was badass. And like they said, scary but cool at the end of the day. Very cool.
Yeah.
It's still great.
And very scary.
I watched it last year for a rewatch. I hadn't
Still
seen
holds
it.
up.
Dude, it's still epic.
Still holds
Still
up.
fantastic. Next up, we have another zombie film from 2002, Resident Evil. I really like this film. And I think that we are obviously living in a world of embarrassment of riches when it comes to zombies. Zombies are really hot this century, which is great. 20 Days Later, we talked about Dawn of the Dead, we talked about, but Resident Evil also a really solid zombie film, but I think pretty damn good video game adaptation. Comparatively to what we get these days, where we kind of have hit or miss when it comes to video game adaptations the last couple of years. Mostly misses, actually. I think Resident Evil does a really good job. It hits all the main beats that you want from being a fan of the game. All the motifs, the aesthetics are there. We got the mansion. We have the characters that we like and know. And as well as the zombies were really well done. Because versus doing the fast zombies like 28 Days Later or Dawn of the Dead, we have slow-walking zombies that are really well designed in terms of just decomposing and in shambles and in pieces, but also terrifying and scary at the same time because it's the quantity and the population of them that are attacking you versus just a couple. A couple you can handle no problem, but when you have masses of them, all these mad scientists, all these people who worked in Raccoon City underground at Umbrella are now zombies. It's fantastic. It's creepy. Great opening with the elevator. I think the opening is one of the best parts of the film. And then Mila Jovovich is fantastic as our lead. The red dress, iconic look, total badass, leading to an entire franchise of films of being one of the biggest action stars of the century when it comes to total kills on screen. I think she has the most. And I think it's just very entertaining, terrifying, and a great third act, too, once we get the hunter come into play, gets released and attacks them at the end. It's really fantastic. Michelle Williams is the scene stealer in this movie as well. Overall, really good zombie movie and really good video game adaptation.
I like it a lot. I think they did a great job with it. And for video game movies, it's up there. It's absolutely up there.
Alice is such a badass.
Next up.
Plus the lasers. The laser
scene with the guy gets chopped into cubes. Oh, my God. What a good scene. All right, next up we have a Rob Zombie film. And he showed himself to be a pretty capable horror director in the 2000s. His best film is The Devil's Rejects, which is part of the franchise with like Three from Hell, House of a Thousand Corpses, like those same characters, like this family, murderous family. This time they're on the run from a sheriff. And this movie, they did a great job. It's scary. It's disturbing. It's really messed up. Great gore, terrifying situations. I really like this one a lot. It's the other ones, they're good, but like they're not really that rewatchable. But The Devil's Rejects is by far the best he did. And obviously the success of this one got him Halloween 2 years later. But The Devil's Rejects, I think, is probably actually better than Halloween, his Halloween movie. And the design, I just remember always being terribly freaked out by the design of, especially that lead character, like the leader of the gang with that clown face makeup.
Necrophilia as well.
It's
a messed up movie.
I just remember as a teenager just always being so disturbed by him, and they did an awesome job with this movie.
Next up at 64, we have Fright Night, the original from 1985. This was remade in 2011 starring Colin Farrell and Anton Yelchin. But the original was in 1985, and fantastic film, great horror movie, great vampire design, one of the best horror posters of all time, of a young guy who lives next door to a vampire. I like the new one. It's sexier, it's a little campier, a little funner. Anton
The old
Yelchin's
one's
great,
pretty sexy.
but the old one's sexy too. But I like the old one better because I think the vampire overall is better. Not that Colin Farrell's not great, but he's just sort of just a rock star vampire fan who just drinks beer and watches TV a lot. I mean, not that entertaining of a character, but also there's not much for a vampire to do during the day, you could argue. But I think that the original just does such a great job of putting you in the shoes of what would happen. What would life be like if you live next to a vampire? Sort of Disturbia vibes if you live next to a murderer.
I love the design of the vampires in this. They become like monsters. That's their vampire form. It's not like something like Bram Stoker where he can like turn into a monstrous bat. Like when they reveal themselves, they're like monstrous beings with like so many teeth. They have like dozens of giant teeth rather than just the two. But they can do the two, just the fangs if they want. But it's really the prosthetics work is awesome. It's a really cool movie. It's a really good time. And I like the setup where it's like this vampire is basically said when the kid discovers him, calls the cops on him, and the cops think he's crazy. Then the vampire's like, I'm going to come over tonight. I'll be seeing you later.
That's what I mean. It's just like Disturbia.
It's great. It's like, holy shit. Yeah, it's like the David Morse character in Disturbia. And I really like this movie. It's fun. Great third act. I like the battles. And there's some cool lore they added to it. Like this vampire can actually eat food. And then he has like an assistant who you think is just a human, but you realize he's been keeping him alive for probably hundreds of years. When that guy gets killed, and green ooze comes out of him and becomes like a skeleton. So I like how they got super creative and added things to the lore of vampires for this movie, which is really fun. Next up at number 63, we got another slasher movie. One of the more recent ones on this list, Ty West's X. With a great cast, Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, Brittany Snow, Stephanie Uri, Kid Cudi, and a bunch of great other actors. This is a really fun time. It's sexy, and it's scary. Once shit hits the fan, it's terrifying. Mia Goth did a great job, double duty, in dual roles in this film. I love the alligator scene, which is horrifying. And then the old woman, when she goes into bed with her, that's a great scene. That's scary as hell. And then once she starts killing everyone, I love the stabbing in front of the car.
Bro, that scene I had to look away a few times because, man, I love Ty West, and I love how he just holds the camera. It's just on there for like 8 seconds of stabbing.
Yeah, I love it. He did a great job with this. It's a really strong slasher movie, the best of that year for sure. And when it's really just the two of them left, Jenna Ortega's tied up in the basement, Mia Goth's trying to save her. It's just really great when shit's going down. This is an absolute like energetic, chaotic, horrifying mess, and it's a really great slasher movie.
Another great slasher movie from 1975 out of Italia, we have Deep Red from Dario Argento. A really great classic slasher, excellent imagery, really great kills, disturbing sequences, and just an overall fantastic slasher if you've never seen it. Deep Red is one to put on your watch list.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really fun. And there's some really great jump scares, like through the wall, and a couple of kills are just so iconic, like through the glass of the window and stuff. It's a really fun time. At number 61, we have Midsommar, all the way back in 2019. This is one of like the freakiest horror movies ever, and it's a really unique tone. But it's one of these great films where, for the entire runtime, you're like, "What the hell is happening?" And what's gonna happen? Like, you know, something terrible is gonna happen, and then once she starts discovering bodies and the murders that are happening, then you're just like, holy shit, this is insane. It's such a fun movie. I think it's really funny. It's so entertaining. It's so different visually from anything else on this list. Ari Aster came up with a really great follow-up to Hereditary that really was so different from what he did before. I like the visuals of this movie a lot and everything he did. And then I love the characters and what they all go through. And he really has a knack for like really unsettling an audience and making them feel incredibly uneasy while watching a movie, but yet you're just like, you can't wait to see what unfolds next.
You have to be a really talented filmmaker and storyteller to be able to do a horror film in broad daylight for basically the whole movie and terrify your audience and scare you and keep you on edge, because nighttime obviously supplements horror. It makes it a little easier to scare you. You can hide things a lot better. But when you're dealing with bright sunlight, and obviously we're inside interiors a lot as well, but 90% of this movie's out is in the sun. I think it's a really impressive feat, and he's just such an excellent filmmaker. And I love Midsommar. I remember that when we did an episode on it, I think back in 2020, we called it Midsommar, and we got, it's Midsommar! I think a lot of people were confused how to say it.
I think everyone was. Yeah. I mean, it's a word we don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that word. It's the first time I saw it.
Now we know it's Midsommar. Next up, at number 60, we're going with Alfred Hitchcock, everybody. Now bear with us. The Birds is an awesome movie from Alfred. It's got a great kind of switch of tone because it opens sort of as a meet cute, very almost romantic feeling. This woman's at this pet store looking for birds. She tells this silly fib, which leads to her conversation with this guy who's looking for birds for his sister for her birthday, these lovebirds. And so she gets these birds, tracks them down to his summer home, and goes there and places them in her home. So it's a home invasion of her putting birds inside his house and then watching it. But then she stays in this little small town. However, the small town eventually gets attacked by killer birds that are coming out to kill humans. One by one, they start to turn until eventually the whole town is being attacked by swarms of birds. It's really great filmmaking for 1963, man. When you watch this movie, when I saw it for the first time, I was just kept thinking, like, how did Hitchcock pull this off? It looks excellent, and the film overlays, whatever they did to capture these swarms of birds attacking people inside homes, outside of buildings, to be able to wrangle birds and have them so well trained to be in specific spots at specific times. However they did it must have been so time-consuming, but it's really impressive. The birds blow up a fucking gas station. It's crazy, but it really is terrifying because there's nowhere you can go. You're not safe anywhere, really, from these birds.
Great filmmaking. It's so well done. Another movie that's just got great filmmaking is Drag Me to Hell at number 59. This is one of my favorite Sam Raimi movies, honestly. I think it's just so delightful. And this movie is so brilliant. It's scary. And it's also gross as hell, but funny as well. I think Drag Me to Hell is a special horror movie, and it still works. Like, it's about this girl who's basically cursed by this old woman who she doesn't help with getting a loan for her own personal gain. And so the old woman curses her, and she's cursed her to go to hell. And so now the girl's trying to figure out, how do I get rid of this curse? That's the plot. There are some great sequences, whether it be the fight with the old woman, which is really gross and like scary, but also disgusting and nasty. She's biting on her chin.
Yeah.
And then like the sequences of her being tormented by the demon, like the demon's like trying to break into the house, and she sees the shadow, and you see the shadows of hoofs, and it's just really terrifying stuff. Great work with that. It has a great opening where we get to see someone trying to save another person from the same curse and being pulled.
Ayúdame!
Ayúdame! And it's really messed up. It's got a great finale with them trying to save her. And then, again, I mean, this is really one of my favorite movie endings of all time. We've talked about it a bunch, how great this ending is. We don't want to spoil it.
Such a good twist.
If you haven't seen it, it's just really unbelievable. It's so goddamn good. And this movie's just got great combination of horror elements, directing, visual effects, great practical effects, gross out gags, comedy, but then a great score too from Christopher Beck, sorry. Or is it Christoph Beck? Something like that. And I think it's just absolutely a highlight of Sam Raimi's career. It's one of my favorite horror movies to watch in spooky season, and it still scares me. It still gets me, man. Especially like when this movie ends, I just get goosebumps, and I'm just like, oh my god, that was fucking terrifying. Holy shit.
Drag Me to Hell. And it was great because Sam Raimi, going back to his roots of horror.
Oh yeah.
Makes 3 Spider-Man movies, comes back to horror, and it was just really exciting.
Comes back with a bang.
Banger. Next up at number 58, from Rob Reiner, an adaptation of Stephen King. Won't be the last one. We have Misery, starring Kathy Bates and James Caan. James Caan. What an excellent film. Terrifying horror film. One of the best horror villains with Annie Wilkes, who stumbles upon this author of her favorite author, crashes in a snowstorm. She pulls him to safety in her house and starts to take care of him. Unfortunately, the roads are too bad for anyone to come help them, so she starts to, mend his wounds and everything until things start to go off when he reveals that he's going to kill the main character of her favorite book series, Misery. And so
you can't kill Misery.
She decides to trap him there until he rewrites the book to make sure Misery survives.
To her satisfaction,
exactly.
Yeah.
Breaks his legs, tortures him, manipulates him, and it's insane. Absolute bonkers. 2 characters in a house. That's the whole movie, basically. Like 85% of the movie is 2 characters in a house.
I'd say 86% of the movie.
Yeah, a little more. Some in the opening, some in the ending. And what a crazy situation. You're just in James Caan's shoes the whole time, trying to wonder how is he going to escape. He almost succeeds a few times. Things go horribly wrong every time he tries to escape. He's got bad luck. But man, what an ending, and it's a terrific film.
Reiner did a great job building suspense, like a couple of the escape scenes where he tries and fails. Like you were
the
just
dinner scene, man.
Yeah, you're just like there's multiple. He hatches multiple plans, and he did a great job of stretching those scenes out and building that suspense so well. And it's just a really wonderful horror movie. It's so goddamn good. At number 57, we're back at Sam Raimi. Not his directoring.
Directoring.
Oh my God, he didn't direct this one.
He was not directoring this film.
But it's his baby, and he produced it. We have Evil Dead, Fede Alvarez's film in 2013, which is a really great reboot of the original franchise. I think Evil Dead is one of the better remakes ever done. It's scary as hell. Excellent performances. The gore is off the chain. The blood is everywhere. This movie, it'll make your skin crawl. It'll make you squirm. I'm sure a lot of people have to turn away from the screen multiple times while watching this movie. And the Deadites are so well done in this movie. And bringing the technology of both practical work and visual effects into this film with what modern technology in filmmaking can do, they really upped the ante. It's a really great follow-up to what Sam Raimi did. And Jane Levy did a great job in her performance of playing this character who's someone who's trying to recover and get clean. Then also, she did a great job when she's possessed by Deadites. And I really love this movie. For horror remakes, reboots, legacy sequels, whatever this one is, it's absolutely up there. And I really think that they just went full stop. They dialed it to 11. You know what I mean? Whether it be the forest scene with the tree branches, it's terrifying, and the knife in the tongue, the turkey carver on the arm, great moments, and also she's terrifying. Like when she peeks out from under the basement, she did a great job.
Great makeup.
Yeah, great makeup. It's really scary. Really, really good movie.
Next, at number 56, It Follows, a very cool modern horror film, pretty damn unique. I love curse movies, and this definitely falls into that category. This was really the big one for Micah Monroe. She did this and The Guest, which were huge movies for her, and now she's sort of become the scream queen of Hollywood. Deservedly so. She's a great actress. And she's terrific in this movie as the lead, who has sex with a guy who she doesn't know has a curse on him. And it's basically kind of an STD, except it's of an invisible to the rest of the world, spirit that comes to kill you. And it's just on this never-ending chain of people it's going to kill, and once it kills someone, it moves back down the line chain of the sex of this lineage of intercourse. That's what we'll call it, the lineage of intercourse. And the way to get it off you is to have sex with somebody else, and hopefully it buys you enough time to figure out what to do, and hopefully it keeps going and going and going. And you can only imagine there's probably thousands, tens of thousands of people probably connected to this curse, which is really interesting, which I think opens the door for, obviously, sequels, and I believe they're working on that now, hopefully.
Yep.
And I really love this film. I think it has everything you want from a unique original horror film, and it's very strong. It does get a little campy in the end with the sort of, kind of Home Alone vibes of stopping it with all the tools you have with the pool and all the booby traps. So I don't love the booby trap aspect of that, but I think it's a really solid ending to a great first and second acts of a movie. Great opening, terrifying, and I think one of the greatest strengths of this film, like a lot of awesome horror movies like Halloween, is the music. Disaster Piece does a great job creating awesome, unique themes. This eerie, nightmarish, synthy vibes are awesome, and it's an excellent film. I really have a special place in my heart for It Follows.
It's a very creepy film.
It is.
It's creepy, just like the monster, how it just creeps with weird posture and like when it's got great shocks. Like when she's terrified in her friend's room and her friend's in the doorway. Like, what are you freaking out about? Then that super tall guy walks up from behind her.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great like jump scares in that movie that work really well. They're not like cheap jump scares. You know what I mean? They're
good.
really good ones. All right, next up we have Robert Eggers' The Witch, which is an absolute delight and a what the fuck movie. This is a great film which builds suspense really wisely because after the family moves into the woods, I mean, we get our really just an amazing introduction to the witch. Kill the baby. She's making a spell. She's like grinding it up and then floats in the air. So now we know what the family's up against, like right away. And for the rest of the film, you're just like, oh my God, when is the witch going to get them? And there's like just that sequence alone.
Some scenes I'm like, this witch can get me anytime she wants.
Oh, the sexy
The
witch.
hot witch.
Yeah.
I would get killed so fast. I'd get lured into that treehouse so easily.
Hello, James.
Come on, you want some stew? Yes.
But it's so good. It's so well done. Great, just tension building, and excellent sequences from when the boy's possessed, and then when the family turns on her. And Black Phillip, I love when the kids are all chained up and locked up in the pen, and then the witch shows up inside the pen, and they're like, "What the fuck?" Ah! There's so many great moments in The Witch. I think it's a really great display of horror, an excellent film from Robert Eggers to show what he's capable of as a director. It's a really wonderful horror film. I really love it, and absolutely deserves to be on this list of scariest.
Next up, we have, I think, a low-key banger.
Oh, yeah.
Starring our Scream King himself, Justin Long. Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get those peepers? Jeepers Creepers, 2001.
Wow. Oh
really cool original horror film, a new horror icon. We have the Creeper, who basically is this sort of demon monster who every 23 years...
Demon monster dragon guy.
Demon monster dragon high school guy who every 23 years wakes up from his cocoon, I guess you could say, or his slumber.
Sounds a little bit like it.
And I don't see the correlation. It's 27 years, Anthony, all right?
Oh,
this is
man.
way more. This is totally different. 23 years.
Sorry.
Shorter hibernation
My
time.
bad.
Not even closely related at all. I don't see any similarities. He wakes up and he goes on a spree of killing people and humans to take their organs to sustain his life. And Justin Long and his girlfriend, or is it his sister? I can't remember. Sister. Definitely not his girlfriend, depending on the state you're in. His girlfriend, I mean, his sister and him.
You almost called her friend and girlfriend.
They stumble upon like a church, right? And they sort of wake it up, or they discover where it was sleeping.
So they so they were driving by and they saw him dumping a body down this like shaft.
Yeah.
And then he goes down the shaft. And then she goes down to help him. He discovers a bunch of like the bodies down there.
Yeah,
and then it sees them and starts the chase.
He starts to hunt them. It's a great chase movie. He's got this big, terrifying truck. I'm surprised he's never been pulled over without any license plates.
Yeah, I don't see any registration on that at all.
And it's a chase. They're in the middle of like some random state. They're trying to get help at diners here and there, but they eventually, can only go so far until Creeper catches up to them. And it's an excellent movie. It's so terrifying. It's cool. It's so cool. I like the sequel a lot, too.
Yeah.
With the school bus scene.
The school bus is good. But, the Jeeper is a good character design.
Creeper.
He's like this, like, monstrous dragon being
He used to be human. It looks like he used to be human, though,
I don't think he used to be human ever.
I think he definitely used to be human because he needs human organs to survive.
I think he just needs flesh and whatever. I don't think he used to be human.
Great
he's
character design.
He's a monster, bro.
He's sort of a mix of predator and a human and a xenomorph.
Yeah, and a dragon
Because he's got like
wings.
that mouth that opens up like predator.
Yeah, but don't forget his wings though.
Yeah,
He's got wings.
pretty terrifying.
Yeah, it's a good time. Jeepers Creepers is just a solid horror film. Great ending. Poor Justin Long. But yeah, it's a good fucking time. Great character design. Next up, we got an absolute classic from the 70s, The Wicker Man, which is one of the weirdest movies ever made, but deserves to be on this list because it's horrifying. Christopher Lee, Edward Woodward. This is a really cool movie. So Woodward plays a sergeant who he has been tasked with looking into the disappearance of a boy on this island. And so he goes to this Scottish island. It's called Summer Isle, to investigate the disappearance. However, everyone's like super weird on this island. They're all strange people. They're carnal. They perform like folk horror, traditional rituals and stuff. Music's a big thing in this movie. But they wear animal masks. They do weird stuff. Christopher Lee is basically like their leader. And this officer, he's like, everyone he talks to, everyone's very nice, but no one has any interest in helping him. And they're all acting like he's crazy, and he's just like, what the hell is going on? This place is just like maddening. Christopher Lee, as like the leader of the community, they have a couple of scenes together, but this really ties to, it's the third act of this movie that puts it on this list. Because once we get over to the climactic moments, this is just like a fever dream of horror and terror. And this character is put into a situation that's just one of the most grisly and horrific moments ever put on film. And it's absolutely mind-blowing. And this was the Midsommar of its day, The Wicker Man. And it's an absolute brilliant display of terror. I really love the movie. It's so unique. There's nothing like it. It's very bizarre, but it's absolutely genius. The Wicker Man has to be on your list. Absolutely.
Next up, we have The Blair Witch Project, the original from 1999, which is one of the most successful and profitable films ever made. Original production budget was around $30,000 to $50,000. Went on to gross $248 million at the global box office, but they did have some post-production costs that brought it up a little bit. So it's estimated that its return on investment is around like 10,000%.
Oh, shit.
Absolutely absurd ROI on this film that truly was terrifying. And we can account for this time when, really pre-global internet, people constantly on communicating and spreading information every day constantly, where virality was very organic and still existed off the internet. And, the trailer for this film was very spooky, and this was a movie that people were just talking about and chattering about. And it really was a sensation, like The Sixth Sense, where everyone's like, you got to see this movie. You have to go see this movie. And everyone did see this movie. $248 million at the box office. Which is absurd. And it's a scary movie. Found footage movies are really effective when done well. I feel like maybe some people, when they've never seen it or they didn't grow up watching this movie or seeing it when it came out, maybe these younger generations, if they watch it now, they might not think it's scary. But I'm telling you, at the time, this movie, if you saw it in theaters or if you're just home alone in the dark, this movie's terrifying. It was really scary, really eerie, really weird, and just lightning in a bottle. Who would have thought? Artisan, this distribution company called Artisan Entertainment, I believe, they acquired the rights to it for $1.1 million. And then, again, they made a box office of $248 million, which obviously is splitting with theaters, but made a boatload of money from this film.
Those producers were very happy, I'm sure.
That was just, who would have thought, And the filmmakers behind it really haven't done much since that is notable. They made a few movies here and there. They've worked and made some TV, but I'm sure that they made plenty of money off this movie to just live off the rest of their lives doing whatever they want.
The actors didn't, though. The actors didn't get much, actually.
I mean, the budget was only $35,000. You pay your actors minimums.
It's really well done. And for found footage, it basically created the genre. And it's got some good scares. And this is a movie everyone was buzzing about after they saw it. and it was just like shocking because part of it was you didn't know if it was real or not because it was such a new kind of technique of filmmaking. A lot of people were like, was this real or was this not real? I remember being a kid thinking it was real. And I thought it was like a documentary that was it's a mockumentary essentially.
Kind of, yeah.
It's just that's generally what it is, just a horror mockumentary. But when I was a kid, when we were 10 when we saw this or something, I thought it was real. It was terrifying.
People thought it was real,
Yeah.
and the thing was, the motif of the stick figures, the stick figurines, the stick sculptures, and the trees. People were making those all over. Like people were marking this movie, and they didn't realize it. They thought it was fun. It was like a prank. You would make those twig sculptures and scare your friend and put it in their backyard or something, or put it in their tree. And it was so interesting how this movie just caught the zeitgeist in pop culture by storm, and everyone was talking about the Blair Witch Project for a whole year. It's all people could talk about.
Yeah, and I mean, it had found footage had been done before in Europe with Cannibal Holocaust, The Connection, Last Broadcast, but in America, we had never seen anything like that before. Like the mainstream audiences, we had never seen anything like found footage ever, and so that's why everyone thought that's why people were like, "Is this real?"
Plus, the marketing campaign they did, there was a website, and they would put obviously fake interviews and newsreels of missing people, missing persons, and in this area.
We thought the Blair Witch was real.
We did.
Yeah.
We were like, is it real? It might not be real, but like I thought it might be real.
Yeah. It was just really genius. It was
They created a culture before the movie even came out.
And then after Blair Witch, found footage just was a boom of a genre. Now we've had so many. All right, next up we have an action horror movie, which is one of the best pure for pure movies ever made. Predator from 1987, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers, and a great ensemble. Make no mistake, Predator is a horror movie, and it's scary. It's disturbing. It's bloody. And I've seen people be terrified while watching this movie.
Skinned bodies.
And Predator, the Predator is terrifying, especially your first watch of it. And if you see this in theaters, it's scary as hell. And the kills are brutal. The gore is nuts. It's a great, great movie. John McTiernan, what a director, making this and Die Hard and a few other greats. It's just they did a great job from character design to prosthetics to special effects, and it's really like the only movie on here that's like a huge action movie at the same time as being a great horror film. And that's what makes it so special. They did it. They cracked the code on this movie, and it's been done many times. So many sequels, so many reboots, but there's still just one Predator that is superior to all of them.
I agree. Number 50. We have a crazy, crazy movie. Possession. Came out in 1981, starring Sam Neill, as well as the terrific Isabella Gianni. And basically, the plot of this film is this couple, they split, and the wife takes their son, and the husband's distraught. But the chaotic energy in this film is maddening from the start, from beginning to end. And both characters are going insane over this relationship breakup, or this relationship in general, this obsession, this love, this breakup. And you don't really know what's real or not for a while. And there's another person in the woman's life, and the husband eventually goes and tries to figure out who it is after getting beat a few times. And then he discovers this other creature, you could call it. And it's hard to explain without ever seeing it. It's one of those films that you just have to see it to believe it. It's a really brilliant film in the horror genre. The performances are incredible. They're so physical. The motion in this film, it's like Uncut Gems on crack. It's like that kind of speed, that kind of energy, these exhausting performances that are just hypnotizing at the same way from our leads. It's so fucked up. You're going to watch this movie, and in multiple times you're going to say to yourself, what am I watching right now? And then when it's over, you're going to be like, that was incredible, but also, what the fuck did I just watch? It's got some crazy sequences, very famous in the genre, disturbing, eerie, and just flat out weird, but an awesome ending. Sort of like a Bonnie and Clyde ending, if you think about it. It's nuts. It's fucking nuts, man.
All right, next up we have a South Korean horror film, I Saw the Devil, which is also one of the best serial killer films. And it's about a man who's this very capable agent whose wife is murdered by a serial killer. So he goes on this hunt. He finds out who the serial killer is, and he goes on this spree of tormenting, torturing, and just basically messing with the serial killer, which leads into a really great back and forth between the two of them. This movie is terrifying. It's got great gore. It's tragic, but it's so much fun, and it's exciting. Incredible energy, but great moments like the scene in the kitchen with the knife, when he's torturing him. And then also, like, there's instances like when the serial killer gets away, you're like, fuck, holy shit. And he shows himself to be extremely capable himself. You know what I mean? And he goes on another killing spree as a result of everything that's happening. It's a really fun movie. It's terrifying. It shows coming face to face with pure evil, essentially. And that's what makes it really special.
Sure does. Let's talk about From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
Number 48 on this list, possibly my sexual awakening with Salma Hayek. Dancing in a bikini.
And The Witch was the second one.
The Witch?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd already been a man by then.
I hope so.
This was co-written by Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, directed by Robert Rodriguez, starring George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino himself. And they play criminal brothers, sort of on the run, trying to cross into the border of America and Mexico into Mexico, which they successfully do, while kidnapping a family at the same time and forcing them to drive them across the border. And all hell breaks loose when they go to this specific town in Mexico, this sort of bustling mini Las Vegas kind of area. And they go inside this big restaurant bar, and they eventually find out that everyone there, all the employees that work there and many of the patrons, are vampires, and they lure people in there. And then at some point in the night, they just shut all the doors and show who they truly are and go on a killing spree trying to kill them all. But all the humans inside try to band together and fight together to survive. The family's great. Harvey Keitel plays the dad. And then Jennifer, what's her name?
Juliette Lewis.
Juliette Lewis is the daughter. Crazy movie, bonkers, awesome prosthetics, and just terrifying.
Scary.
And fun. Yeah,
really scary design.
Scares and great action too.
I mean, they're really monsters. Like, it's really fun vampire designs, and I love the ending. I think it's so cool, that reveal at the end. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but seeing like what this bar really is, man, it's a great story.
Danny Trejo is awesome.
Yeah, Trejo is awesome too. Yeah, and Tarantino did a good job. He did a good job. All right, next up we got A Quiet Place, the first one from John Krasinski. I think this is just one of the better modern horror films. It's so well done, so well paced, incredibly directed. Perfectly acted. I love everything about A Quiet Place. It's scary. It's suspenseful. It's thrilling. Great amounts of tension. I love the creature designs. I love the Death Angels. And man, this is a scary movie on your first watch. These things are terrifying. And it all comes down to Krasinski's filmmaking. And I mean, he really knocked it out of the park with this. This is one of the better directed horror films of the last couple of decades. And I, full stop, just think this is a really brilliant horror film.
Number 46 on our list, we have an insanely successful film. We have It from 2017, Andy Muschietti, whose movie on a budget of $40 million grossed $701 million at the global box office. At the time of its release, it was the third highest grossing R-rated film ever, and it became the highest grossing horror film of all time. Massive hits. And you all know this movie. We all saw this movie. Pennywise the Clown wakes up every 27 years to torment and kill people in the small town of Derry, right? Derry, Pennsylvania.
Derry. You're right.
And it's awesome. It's great. The kids do a terrific job in these roles. And Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise the Clown is just a fantastic casting. Insanely terrifying and memorable opening scene with Georgie in the rain with his little sailboat and his yellow rain jackets. Pennywise was an absolutely terrifying villain, and I think this movie really does the book justice in so many different ways.
Next up, at number 45, we have Hellraiser, all the way back in 1987. Now, this is a movie I was very late to watching because as a kid, we would go to Blockbuster to shop for movies, and the Hellraiser cover scared the shit out of me.
The Pinhead, yeah.
And I never wanted to watch it because it was so scary.
Me too.
And I remember always walking by it, and I would be like, oh my God, it's the Pinhead.
I'm going to go get my popcorn bucket and then go check out with
the popcorn
Toy Story 2 again.
The popcorn bucket with like the cardboard cover on it. Yeah.
It was like the kernels were just at the bottom.
Yeah.
And it was an airtight plastic seal. So it was the bucket.
Yeah.
Popcorn kernels at the bottom. You just pop it in the microwave.
That was a good time. This is one of the best body horror movies ever. It's a good story. What makes it terrifying is a combination of the concept where the Cenobites are real from hell and they come up to bring people to hell and take their souls. And combining that with the prosthetic work and the design of the characters. It's really terrifying. And it's about this girl, and she solves this weird, mysterious puzzle box, which brings the Cenobites to the living. And because she toyed with it, she's going to be punished by being taken to hell. And so she's trying to stop that from happening. And also her mom's boyfriend, who died, is like this flesh monster without skin. And he needs to keep killing people and consuming their blood to basically grow back to human form again. So these two things are happening. Really great gore, incredible prosthetic work. And it's just a very disturbing movie. It's just like when you watch this movie, you're just constantly disturbed and constantly on edge. It's a very scary movie. They did a great job on a tiny budget and built a franchise out of it.
Let's move on to a werewolf film, number 44, An American Werewolf in London, 1981, from John Landis, who's known for making great comedies, Blues Brothers, Beverly Hills Cop 3, Animal House, so many classics, Coming to America, Trading Places. American Werewolf in London, arguably the best werewolf movie ever made. Maybe not better than Prisoner of Azkaban. But this movie's excellent. Won the Academy Award for Best Makeup and Hairstyling. That's how good the prosthetics are in this film.
Wow.
Really memorable werewolf transformation, great tongue-in-cheek humor, and just overall, when it comes to the genre of vampires, werewolves, zombies, werewolves seem to be the toughest to make a good film out of. I'm really looking forward to The Wolfman from Blumhouse coming out next year, because I think there's a lot of potential for werewolf films. But American Werewolf in London did something different with it, really unique, very campy, and sort of just a timeless movie. The sequel, not quite there, obviously, but the original is excellent.
I would call this the best werewolf movie. I can't think of a better werewolf movie off the top of my head. And plus, I just watched it, and it holds up really well. But I do think that it's not a 10 out of 10, and there is potential for a 10 out of 10 werewolf movie one day, but we haven't gotten it yet. Next up, we have Eli Roth's follow-up to Cabin Fever, Hostel, which was a huge hit. This is a great movie that really brought about the torture porn of the 2000s. This and Saw capitalized on it. But this is one of the better ones, and he did a great job. It's terrifying. It's about a bunch of friends who go on a trip to Europe only to be basically massacred and tortured by this cruel doctor who loves torturing people. This is not for the faint of heart, and it's not as just gross as other gory movies are, but they did a great job. It's terrifying. It's scary. There are sequences in this that will just make you squirm. The Achilles heel one, that does it for me. Every time with that shot. Oh my God. But Eli Roth did a really good job with this movie. It's a fun time for fans of the genre. And it's really messed up. So scary.
Number 42, we have the Amityville Horror. Now, is this the Ryan Reynolds or the James Brolin one?
The Brolin one.
But they're pretty much the same plot.
Yeah, they're both very good.
Of a husband and father, after he and his family move into a new house, gets sort of his mind corrupted and possessed by a spirit that potentially lingers there and sets out on a murderous rampage eventually after stranger and stranger behavior based off real events of this guy who killed his parents and 4 siblings one random night in New York, Amityville, New York, obviously, in 1975. He was only 23 years old when he did it. And then after after that house was cleared up, a new family moved in, and they claim they were terrorized by paranormal activity inside the house. After the Lutz family moved in a year later, the house has been the subject of many investigations and paranormal research, and obviously books, movies based on it. Amityville Horror, pretty crazy stuff.
It's a really good movie.
It's a good flick.
And
Great beard.
yeah, Reynolds has a good beard.
Yeah,
too.
Reynolds had one too.
And it has the iconography of that house with those windows, man.
James Brolin, Josh Brolin's father, in case you didn't know.
Next up, we have Dario Argento's Suspiria, which is a great witch movie. Came out in 1977. This is a great display of suspense, cinematography. It's a good slasher, which turns into something much more. I don't want to spoil it, but what you think is going to be is just a slasher movie. A very good slasher movie turns into something more sinister and fucked up as the plot is unraveled. Suspiria is iconic, and so many other movies have pulled from it. It's a wonderful movie. The sequel is very good too. It's just not as scary as Suspiria, the original, but it's still a very good horror movie.
Yeah, I like the sequel a lot. I think they did a great job. It's an awesome third act and so much fucking blood, man. There's maybe the most blood I've ever seen in a movie besides Evil Dead.
It's up
is
there,
in
man.
Suspiria.
It's up there.
Ooh, it's excellent.
Excellent.
Number 40 from Francis Ford Coppola, Bram Stoker's Dracula. What a visionary filmmaker this guy is and was. Fantastic imagery, surreal filmmaking, terrifying visuals, really creative, excellent young hut cast with Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder. Gary Oldman's fantastic as Dracula, the Count himself. Keanu's just doing his best at this age. He's good to look at basically in this movie. Overall, what a film. If you've never seen it before, can't recommend it enough. It's a trip.
Anthony Hopkins
unique.
is great too.
Yeah, as Van Helsing. I like this movie a lot. I watched it for the first time, I think, 2 years ago, and was blown away and couldn't believe I'd never seen it before. And Coppola, just a visual genius, and really did something unique here with Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Scary stuff too. There's some good scares in that movie, man. Great job. Next up at number 39, we have Nosferatu. Speaking of Dracula, we have Nosferatu, the original. Obviously it's dated today, but at the time it was the scariest thing anyone had ever seen. I watched it a few months ago, and it's really good. It's really well done. It's so well directed, and it is scary. Like, if you commit yourself to the film, turn off your phone, turn off the lights, and you watch Nosferatu, you will be scared, I guarantee it. For a silent film, it's an unbelievable piece of filmmaking.
Next up, we have number 38, Poltergeist. Came out in 1982. Wow, long time ago.
Long fucking time.
This movie's excellent.
Yeah.
It's a very Spielbergian film because he produced it and eventually, Tobe Hooper directed this film. But it feels like Spielberg had a huge hand in it.
Spielberg directed a majority of it.
A majority of it?
Like himself.
Yeah. What happened to Tobe Hooper?
Rumors say that he was overwhelmed and it wasn't working out with working on such a big movie.
Yeah, you can tell because it feels like a Spielberg movie at the end of the day. Great practical filmmaking. This family moves into a house in this new big urban community that obviously one of those...
it's a suburban community.
Yeah, a suburban community where all the houses kind of look the same.
Yeah.
It's just a big development. And the father's involved with the real estate company that does these buildings and ignore the fact that they're on top of Indian burial ground, which leads to spirits attacking the family through the TV, through the closet into this crazy world. At first, they're kind of intrigued by the paranormal activity. The wife has the sequence in the kitchen. Honey, watch this, watch this. And at first, it seems playful, like not too dangerous, but then it gets dangerous. And so many great iconic moments and scenes. We have the clown, we have the tree, We have the closet that leads to nowhere. The daughter gets stuck in the TV, this other dimension. It's fantastic, really interesting, but also seeking the help of paranormal activity experts to try to help the daughter and get her out of this other realm. I freaking love this movie.
Amazing practical filmmaking, too, and special effects work. It's so good.
Real skeletons used in the big muddy hole.
Yeah, I actually just read an interview about it. The lead actress said that she didn't want to go in to the pool with the real corpses, but then Spielberg said, I'll go in there with you and I'll stand in the water while you film it. And so then that got her to go in it. But still, so they both went in the water with real corpses. Although she was like really in there.
Yeah.
She was in there. Oh my God. Next up we have at 37, Sinister. A really good horror movie. This is solid. I like this movie a lot, starring Ethan Hawke. He uncovers the old reels of Super 8 footage of a serial killer of some kind and their POV of murdering families. And he keeps going through all these old footage, all this old footage and these old reels of film. And also there's some kind of demonic presence that keeps looking at him, staring at him, drinking his coffee, eating his food. Bagul is a fun character. He's great design, very scary. I think they did an excellent job with this movie. I can't remember the director's name off the top of my head.
Wasn't it Scott Derrickson?
It's Scott Derrickson, thank you.
Who did Doctor Strange?
Yes. I really like Sinister. It's messed up. It's fucked up. It's got a great finale. Some good scares, whether it be out in the yard or the kid in the box, like things like that. They did a great job of keeping the audience on edge.
The murders are
yeah,
horrifying.
Murders are tough to watch.
With the tree branch hanging, the car on fire with everyone chained inside of it, dumping everyone into the pool chained to the chairs. This movie's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's messed up. And yeah, it's a really fun time. Really, really good horror movie.
They dropped the ball on this with
they ruined the franchise.
With the franchise, because you had a new horror icon that they just couldn't pull off.
Yeah.
It had so much potential with Bagul. Now we're 37 in. How about we run to our intermission?
Cool.
And we'll come back and we'll finish up the list.
Let's do it.
The remaining 36 scariest movies of all time. And before we continue, the best way to support Raiders of the Lost Podcast, as always, go to Patreon and become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. You get access to the ad-free version of every single episode. If you want to tune into our show without the commercial breaks, we do that on Patreon. Every single episode is posted there without the ads. Not to mention, you get access to weekly bonus episodes. We're doing one this week on our incredible experience at the Hans Zimmer live show. So we talked about the set list, the set design, the performance, the light shows, everything about it. It was such a great experience. You also get access to our Discord. You become a part of our family. We have watch parties on there, free merchandise, video messages, all kinds of stuff happening on Patreon. Sign up today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Another great way to support the show. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify right now. What are you doing right now? If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, just go to our page, scroll up real quick. It'll take a couple seconds. Hit those 5 stars. I love to read out the written reviews on Apple as well. I'll read one in just a minute. Also, subscribe on YouTube, like, comment. That helps us so much. And the final great way to support the show, besides listening to us, is to share us with your family and friends. Anyone you know who loves movies, who are curious about podcasts, don't really listen to any, or need a new one in their life, send them Raiders of the Lost Podcast so they can learn all about movies every single week.
Of course, our episode is sponsored by MoviePosters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online today. Be sure to use our promo code Raiders10 at MoviePosters.com to get 10% off your order right now. They have a huge selection of pretty much every movie and TV show imaginable in their poster library, as well as all sorts of sizes, framing, and even backlighting for your poster needs. It's spooky season. Time to get yourself some horror posters. I got Alien Romulus. I got American Werewolf in London. I got Nightmare on Elm Street. And the original Dracula. MoviePosters.com is the one-stop shop for all of your horror movie poster needs. They have everything, all sorts of sizes, framing, and they even have backlighting for your posters. They got stuff from your favorite Hollywood blockbusters to your favorite Hollywood classics, original prints, alternates, foreign films, and every horror movie imaginable. So, for all of your poster needs, go to movieposters.com right now and use our promo code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order immediately.
Let's begin the intermission, Anthony, and start with Framed.wtf, where We try to guess the movie based off the frames given to us on the website. Every day it's a new film.
This is The Death of Stalin.
This is The Death of Stalin. I was going to say the same thing. The orchestra scene.
Got it.
Yep. That was actually pretty easy.
That was easy.
Yeah. It's a really funny moment. Oh, yeah, Patty Considine.
Olga Kurylenko is the pianist.
Yeah, it's pretty easy one.
Yeah. Nice, man. High five.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to pull it up because I
man.
didn't want to say it without you seeing it.
Appreciate
But that's
it.
exactly what I thought too. For me, it was the location looked just very familiar to that movie. Like I think I could spot that from the set.
Yeah.
The orchestra house. A really funny scene because they do the recording right and then
They don't record.
then they have to get people
Stalin
back.
calls him. He's like, I want a recording of tonight's performance. And then he's like, okay, everybody, we're going to do it again. Brings in people from the street.
Crazy.
It's great.
Movie quote competition time, Anthony. Are you ready?
Ready.
You're a disease, and I'm the cure.
Cobra.
You're a disease, and I'm the cure. That is Cobra.
Good one.
Marion Cobretti.
All right, here's my quote. Everyone's entitled to one good scare.
Oh, what is this? Fuck. Say it one more time.
Everyone's entitled to one good scare.
Fuck. Oh my gosh, I know this. I'm gonna be pissed. I know it. I know I'm gonna be upset as heck.
As heck, man.
Everyone's entitled to one good scare. I'm blanking. Just tell me.
Halloween. He
There
says
it is.
it's Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare, but that would be too much of a giveaway if I said the first bit.
That would have been. Anthony, guess this movie release here. The Faculty.
1999.
Oh, so close.
98.
1998. Awesome cult horror movie. You've never seen The Faculty. It's fantastic. Elijah Wood, freaking Josh Hartnett. All the young hot people from the 1990s are in this movie.
Famke Janssen.
Famke. Awesome alien movie.
What year did Escape from New York come out?
1984.
81. Incorrect. He made it before the thing.
Right before the thing, yeah. Anthony, movie pop quiz time. How many Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies are there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6.
9.
Holy fuck. 9.
There's been, I think, 5 this century or something like that. They've remade
No,
it.
there's been 3, I think.
They've done 3 reboots this century, plus one of them had a sequel, I think.
Huh.
But there's 9 total.
Yeah, one just came out, right? Last year?
Yeah,
I heard it was awful.
That's what I heard too.
I heard it was really
It
dreadful.
looked pretty awful.
It looked dumb. Like when he got in the bus with the people and they all pulled their phones out to take photos of him when he
Yeah.
had a chainsaw.
I'm good.
So dumb.
I'm good.
Okay. How many films have Kurt Russell and John Carpenter made together? And can you name them?
Let's see. Escape from New York.
Yes.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes.
The Thing.
Yes.
I feel like, did Carpenter do Escape from LA or did someone else direct it? I'm going to say Escape from LA. I feel like he might not have directed that, actually. Do you need me to look this
He
up?
did direct it, yeah.
Okay, so Escape from LA, 4.
Yes. It just didn't show up on my Google search when I did it. Don't trust Google, man.
Can't always. So let's see. That's 4. I feel like there's another one in there that they've worked together on. I'm going to say 5, but I can't think of the last one.
It is 5. Hold on, I think Google search fucked me on this one. What is this movie? Amber Waves. Amber Waves is the 5th film.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, Amber Waves. I've not seen that. So that was you got 5 right, though. You got it right. Amber Waves is a movie they made. A drifter in Kansas accepts a job offer on a wheat harvester who, in desperation, attempts suicide but becomes a father figure to him. And Kurt Russell becomes the young guy. It's like a nice drama.
No, they also did Elvis together. That's 6.
Okay, Google fucked me. I'm sorry. That's my bad.
So it's 6. So we did The Thing, Escape from New York, Escape from LA, Big Trouble in Little China, Elvis. What was the other one you said?
I don't think... It says John Carpenter, but on IMDb didn't direct it.
Yeah, he didn't
Maybe
direct
he
that.
produced it. You're right. You won.
So it's 5.
Yeah.
I win.
Do not trust Google search. Again, I've learned once again. It's just, the internet is, people think the internet is the wealth of all knowledge, but it's not, in all information. It's really just scratching the surface of information.
I don't know. You can find anything on there.
No, you can't.
What do you mean?
If you Google Abraham Lincoln, you want to learn everything about him,
Yeah.
you can go on his Wikipedia. You'll learn like 10 minutes worth of reading about him. If you go to a library, there's going to be 60 books about him, in depth about every topic. From, you could read about the Civil War, you could read about the vote, you could read a book
Yeah,
about.
I know,
a
but all of those
biography.
books are on the internet.
I mean, you got to buy the books though.
No, you can find them, bro. They're on the internet, are they not?
I don't think all of them are.
They're pretty much all on the internet.
I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
See, your problem is you think that the internet's only the first Google search page.
No. I just think that the internet isn't the reservoir of all information that we think it is.
I think it absolutely is. I don't see what isn't. It's got everything on there. You can Google anything. You can Google why are fingernails on hands. Like,
No, I'm saying there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff, but not everything.
I think pretty much everything's on there.
Not everything. I don't think everything's on there. I don't.
I strongly disagree. What is our where are our unsubscribes this week?
Ah, yes. We got some good ones. Okay. First up, Ezza. This is a real hater.
Real hater. Let's go.
On our Joker interview with Todd Phillips. You did a terrific job with this film. We loved it so much, quoting us. And then he wrote, and I thought my jokes were bad.
Sorry, I like Joker, man.
Sorry that we liked the movie.
I enjoyed that
I'm
film.
sorry we liked the movie. Elliot on our Patreon wrote, why haven't you done an episode on Anatomy of a Fall? This warrants an unsubscribed. Then 6 hours later, oh my God, I found it here on Patreon as a bonus episode. Resubscribe. Sometimes you gotta scroll down. We have a lot of Patreon episodes. There's a whole bulk of them. Keenan Lee, Cat Williams is Pinky. Wrong. He's Money Mike. Unsubscribed. We got a bunch of unsubscribes for that one. Mason Lavender, please give us a Not Another Teen Movie episode, or I will be forced to unsubscribe. That would just be us laughing the entire time.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
We would be laughing nonstop. Next up, we got. Okay, Dylan Dugas. No, I did that yesterday. Dylan Dugas, I got you on the last episode, but I'll say it since I already started. I'm fucking unsubscribing. The song is It's Too Late to Apologize, which we got wrong by so many merits.
Sorry.
Oh my God. Here's a trivia question from Sienna. What movie did Val Kilmer, Patrick Stewart, and Martin Short star in together?
Say it one more time.
What movie did Val Kilmer, Patrick Stewart, and Martin Short star in together? Stumped me. I had no idea what it was.
What is it?
It is The Prince of Egypt.
Oh man, that's good.
Good question, Sienna. Great question. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then it's obvious. You're like, oh my God, how did I not get that?
Yeah. All right. We don't have any new 5-star reviews.
No?
Unfortunately.
Oh,
So
it makes me so sad.
we need to get those numbers up. If anyone has a few minutes, we'd love you to leave us a funny, witty, whatever kind of written review on Apple Podcasts.
Yes.
So I can read it out in the next few episodes. Aside from that, Anthony, what's your streaming recommendation for this episode?
So I've been on a horror kick, but this year I've been making an effort to watch horror films I've never seen as much as I can. And I finally watched Christine, which is the John Carpenter movie about the killer car.
Yeah, Stephen King one.
It's amazing. It's so good. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's visually well directed, like so many John Carpenter movies. It's cool as hell. It's a lot of fun. Like, great soundtrack, excellent stunt work, and action.
All right, let's get back into our episode of the 75 scariest movies ever made. Anthony, kick us off with number 36.
36 is Cronenberg, baby. Let's go.
That's why I let you do it.
The Fly. Incredible. Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis. Just one of the best horror films generally ever made. It's super scary in the second half of the film when he is a full-on monster. And it's got a great last 15 minutes where this movie just kicks up the high gear of the horror and the terror and the scares. Great production design, excellent prosthetics and special effects, great gore, amazing kills, and man, Goldblum really brings it. He becomes a really great villain by the end. I really love The Fly.
All right, moving on to number 35. We have Rosemary's Baby from Roman Polanski, starring Mia Farrow and John Cassavetes. This movie we just did an episode on the podcast.
Very good one.
2 weeks ago. All-time horror film. You know, we have satanic cults. We have the Antichrist being born. We have great mystery. We have suspense, incredible filmmaking, patient approach to storytelling, and just remarkable lead performances. And Rosemary's Baby is one of the best movies in the horror genre to ever be produced. One of the most influential movies in the genre. Still, people are influenced today by this film. Mm-hmm. You can see its imprint and fingerprints all over movies that you know and love. And Rosemary's Baby is just an all-timer.
I mean, yeah, Rosemary's Baby is a top 5 horror film. But in terms of scariness, it's not quite there, but it is on this list, obviously. Next up at 34, we have Cujo. A movie that's not the same level as Rosemary's Baby, but it's terrifying and really scary. And it's about this woman who's trapped in a car with her son, and this rabid, gigantic, monstrous dog is trying to get in and kill them. That's the movie. That's the story. It's so thrilling. It's horrifying. It's bloody. It's gory. The dog has a couple of kills in the movie that are really brutal. And Cujo, man, it's an all-time just like pure scary movie.
Let's talk about a horror icon at number 33. We have Friday the 13th.
Nice.
We're talking about the original, though, which many of you, if you've not seen it, doesn't even have Jason Voorhees in it, really. Not till the very end. Not until that very
a good
end.
ending.
It's a good ending. But there's another murderer that's killing all of the campers and
Spoiler alert!
counselors. I didn't say who it was. Everyone, it's an old movie, man. 1980.
I was going to watch it.
Friday the 13th, awesome slasher, really great, iconic moments. It's just one of those great cliche high schooler, sex-crazed teen movie with someone coming to kill people, punishing them for having sex.
It's got great kills, though.
Yeah.
It's very creative, whether Kevin Bacon's death, the kill by the tree. There's some really cool kills in this movie that were like kind of ahead of its time.
Created the tropes, man.
Yeah.
Helped create the tropes of teenagers and sex and horror. That and Halloween were huge on that.
Absolutely. Fun twist, too. Next up at 31, we have Funny Games from Michael Haneke, which is the greatest home invasion movie about two young men who seem very innocent and naive, who end up trapping and tormenting a family of a husband, wife, and their children. It's messed up. It's cruel. It's terrifying. The stuff that these people are forced to go through, it just makes your skin crawl. And at the same time, you can't look away, which makes it a special movie. Funny Games and the remake he did in America, it's a great addition to what it is, and tapped into American audiences getting to see that. But Funny Games, the original, is just so good. I love it.
All right.
And the kid from Benny's Video plays the lead.
Oh, that's right.
He's an adult in this one.
Yeah, he's a little older. Yeah, you're
It's
absolutely
the Benny's
right.
Video kid.
He's like the main brother. He does like the
leader.
stare into cam and everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about a really, really sick movie. We're talking about Wreck.
I put this on for you, man.
And this was also remade in 2009, English language, but 2007 is the original Spanish version. Found footage horror film, zombie movie. Off the chains. This movie's sick. It's about this TV reporter who's doing a journalistic video piece on firefighters, and she's a part of this crew. She's hanging out with them all night in their firehouse. Then they get a call, and her and her camera guy follow the call. They're excited. Oh, we're going to see a real life situation. So they go into this apartment building where there's a disturbed woman. But then the whole building gets shut down with quarantine, and all hell breaks loose as they are being quarantined because there's an unknown virus inside the apartment that's breaking loose. And the virus is a strain of obviously being zombies. And it's incredible filmmaking, shocking, jarring moments. Great deaths, great kills. You know, the power's out. We're using just the night vision cam at sometimes. We're using flashlights to see really horrific moments. But man, this one gets your pulse going.
Something that doesn't get your pulse going until the third act is Audition from Takashi Miike. We talk about this movie a lot whenever we discuss horror, the Japanese horror film from 1999, I believe. Audition is amazing. You know the setup. We've mentioned it a bunch. This guy wants to find another wife, so he uses his casting office to cast his wife, essentially. And he finds what he thinks is the perfect woman. But man, is he wrong. I don't want to spoil anything about this movie. Criterion, I'm all over Criterion today. They just added Japanese horror to their collection of Halloween for October. So if you want to watch some cool Japanese horror films, this is on that collection. Audition will blow your mind. It'll disturb you. It will shock you. It will terrify you. All the way to the spine-tingling conclusion. What a masterwork of horror.
Another real masterwork of horror is Saw, 2004 from James Wan. Really unique idea. This one took the world by storm as well. A budget of just $1.2 million. This movie was a huge hit, grossing $100 million at the box office and spanning a franchise that is still going. They just made Saw 10.
There's 28 movies in the franchise.
By 2035, probably.
So they made 10 Saws and 2 spin-offs, Spiral and Jigsaw.
Yeah. And the first one's just clearly the best one. And we have this great horror killer, Jigsaw, who's sort of got this master plan of torture killing people, but offering them the chance of survival, but in an arc of redemption for themselves by making their situations very personal.
He's trying to help them.
Yeah, he's trying to help them.
He's a therapist.
He's a serious therapist. So basically, he traps people in these horrible situations, these puzzles of death and pain. And if they can escape, in his eyes, they are a better person. They deserve to keep living. But for the most part, they don't deserve to live unless they can go through intense pain and trauma. If they can survive. The first film has a survivor recounting the events of what happened as they're trying to hunt down the serial killer before he kills more people. Fucking great concept.
Awesome movie. Great twist. Have you ever seen the Jigsaw roommate video?
Yeah.
On YouTube? I love it.
Yeah, the roommate and the office colleague.
Yeah, it's so good.
Karen.
His roommate's Gary. He's Gary. He's trying to wake him up. He's like, Gary. The keys to your car have been swallowed by your dog. If you want to make it on time for work, all you have to do is open up your friend.
With like a can opener.
Yeah.
I like the one where he puts mouse traps on the bathroom floor. the bathroom floor is covered with mouse traps, and you have to make it to the bathroom to pee in the morning.
His roommate he's like, I just want to go to work. It's fucking great. All right, next up we have The Ring. I love The Ring. The American remake. And the original is amazing too. But I have a special place in my heart for The Ring, starring Naomi Watts. It's an excellent movie, really well made. And this was also a cultural phenomenon. This movie's very scary, and it has to do with the videotape. They did a great job of crafting that tape and what it was, and it was just so disturbing when you saw it on screen. It's funny when you watch the movie and you watch the tape. It's like in the back of your head, like, I hope it's not real. It's excellent. There's great visuals and great moments of horror. The well, the girl coming out of the TV. Scary movie. Your TV's bleeding. Your TV's running. Sydney. But it's great. It's excellent opening. Great gore. Great special effects. It's just a solid horror movie. So well done. Great score from Hans Zimmer. One of his rare horror movie scores, and it fucking slaps, man. The Ring is a great score. Like he brought it, man. But Gore Verbinski really is one of the better large scale filmmakers of the 2000s. He did this in the first 3 Pirates. But I love The Ring. It's scary. It's fucked up. Excellent movie. For PG-13, they did a great job of really stretching it and pushing it to the end of the boundary.
Completely agree. Next up, number 26, we have a 1960 horror film, Peeping Tom.
Yes.
Directed by Michael Powell, revolving around this serial killer who murders women while using a portable film camera to record their dying experiences.
Peeping Tom is one of the best horror movies I've ever seen in my life, but it's also very scary. And at the time, Nobody had ever seen anything like it because it was POV murders. And that
Capturing that expression of death, yeah.
It had never been done before. And this movie was banned. It released for like 2 days in England, and then they banned it. But it is an excellent film. It's really, I couldn't recommend it enough. It's one of my all-time favorite horror movies now, and it's got an excellent character. And it created the phrase of Peeping Tom and became the cultural phrase because of this movie. But it's an amazing slasher movie. Absolutely diabolical. It's so good. So good. Next up, we have The Omen, the original, which is an absolute classic about the birth of the Antichrist, Damien. This little boy who's adopted by this couple. He's nice. He's a nice little kid, but there's something odd about him. He keeps being surrounded by crazy events. And there's these strange people who are obsessed with him, and dogs follow him everywhere, and horrible, disastrous moments of death envelop him. And then the father goes on this odyssey of trying to discover what's happening. And he discovers that Damien is none other than the Antichrist. And man, this is a great horror film. It's so scary. I fucking love it. It's just so well done. It's an absolute classic.
Number 24 from 1960, Alfred Hitchcock, Psycho. It's Psycho, one of the best movies ever made. Arguably Hitchcock's best. Norman Bates, The Bates Motel. Great performances, Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, Vera Miles, John Gavin. Woman who goes on the run with some money to try to have a life with her new sweetheart. Goes horribly wrong as she's killed at a local hotel that she stops at during one rainy night, and her sister tries to track her down. It's an awesome movie. It's fantastic.
That's all that happens.
Brilliant filmmaking. It's a masterpiece.
Another masterpiece of brilliant filmmaking is Cure, another Japanese film, this one from 1997. It's about a detective who's investigating a series of strange identical murders that have no evidence, and there's really no trail left behind. And he discovers who's causing these deaths, and we don't want to spoil it because that makes the movie, but it's an unbelievable display of terror, slow suspense, and dread. And it's a movie that, it fills you with despair, that horror of despair. That's so rare to pull off. It's a really, really great film.
Let's talk about our first Wes Craven film at number 22, Scream from 1996, one of the best slashers ever made. Ghostface, arguably the most iconic horror villain ever created. So memorable, still relevant, still being made into new films today. I love Scream so much. The characters are so memorable. Sidney Prescott is a great final girl. Ghostface is just a great killer. Incredible opening. You all know it's Scream, man. It's the juice.
It's scary.
The best third act of a horror movie for me all time. It's up there. It's just nonstop terror for about 30 minutes. Once the kids leave the party and we have our main cast by themselves, it's terrifying.
It's a very scary movie.
Great kills, great scares. Drew Barrymore's opening, fucking terrifying.
Great opening scene. It's a terrifying opening. Next up, we have 28 Days Later. My favorite zombie movie. Danny Boyle just brought it with this one. Cillian Murphy, early movie lead for him. And man, I'm so excited for the new one that's being made. But this is an exciting film. It's so propulsive. It's so energetic. The zombies are so visceral and dangerous and terrifying. The chases, the tunnel scene, when Brendan Gleeson turns, the finale, the big climax against the soldiers. So many elements, and especially when he wakes up and he first encounters the first zombie who's the priest in the church and getting chased through the city. You're like, what the fuck? And then the zombie attacking them in the house. There's so many great moments to this movie. It's just incredible horror. It's still one of the best, which is why the franchise is still living on to this day.
20. One of the scariest movies I've ever seen in theaters for me personally was Hereditary. The ending, I was just squirming on the edge of my seat, trying to keep my eyes on the screen because I was horrified by what I was seeing. What an incredible film from Ari Aster for his first big theatrical release. Great performance. Toni Collette deserved an Oscar for this movie. She's so phenomenal. One of the best lead performances in a horror movie I've ever seen in my entire life. Alex Wolff, big coming out party for this guy who's been terrific ever since. But overall, just so well made, so well crafted, just a really good script, incredible directing, disturbing imagery. And then again, another Antichrist film. I love Antichrist movies.
I wouldn't call it an Antichrist.
Demon.
Yeah.
Not Demon Christ, demon movies.
Yeah. There we go. You got to get your facts right, man.
It's fucking amazing.
It's great. What also is amazing, and it's very, very scary, the original The Hills Have Eyes. It's about a family that their car breaks down in the middle of nowhere in like a desert area, and they are hunted and killed by savage, cannibalistic people who live out there. And it's scary as hell. Amazing gore, great prosthetics. This is an early slasher movie of the 70s that paved the way. Movies like Black Christmas and The Hills Have Eyes really helped solidify that genre. But monstrous beings, but they're all humans. They're all people, but they're just so scary. This is a great piece of horror.
Number 18 on our list, we have Train to Busan from South Korea director Yun Sang-ho. Created just an iconic and I think very memorable zombie film with Train to Busan. Nothing quite like it. And it's tough to do a zombie movie these days where you want to do something new. And I think setting it on a high-speed train was a really brilliant idea. Zombie outbreaks happening all over the country, all over in all the cities. And then we have these survivors trying to make it from compartment to compartment to compartment to get to the front to safety, going through all kinds of trials of survival against the Walking Dead. Freaking love this movie.
Survive!
It's excellent.
Another excellent movie is Cabin Fever, which is, critically not well loved, but in terms of horror and terror, it's absolutely up there. Eli Roth's big debut, which broke him out. It's a viral disease movie about a group of friends who go to this cabin for a weekend, and they are struck by a viral outbreak that basically eats away at their skin and flesh, and this is a really gory movie. It's terrifying because you're watching what's happening to these people, and you're like, oh my god, this seems like it's possible, like something like this could happen. And man, it is so disturbing, so gnarly. People turn on each other. It's a really, really shocking movie, and it really paved the way. Eli Roth blew up with this. He did Hostel after it, but Cabin Fever, I remember when it came out, everybody was talking about it, and it was like the scary movie of the year.
We're back with James Wan for The Conjuring in 2013, which has really solidified itself as one of the top-tier horror franchises of the century since this first one came out, because now we've had several films, spin-offs, a lot of horror lore has been created from this original film.
Final one's being made right now.
Yeah, that's right. And Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson play real-life paranormal investigators based off true stories as they're trying to help this family who just moved into a new home in Rhode Island who are experiencing paranormal disturbances. It's really scary, exciting finales of using her abilities to speak to the dead and talk to the dead, convincing filmmaking, a lot of it practical and terrifying at the same time.
I love the matches in the stairwell.
I like the family room where the girl's being pulled around the room. Mm-hmm. It's sick.
That is sick. You know what else is sick? The Evil Dead at number 15. Sam Raimi's horror classic. His debut feature film. Way ahead of its time. Mind-blowing. Horrifying. The Deadites were just such a great concept. The gore, the kills, the blood, the prosthetics and special effects are top tier. It's amazing what he did on such a small budget. He crafted a horror franchise for the ages, and man, it's also very funny and tongue-in-cheek. It's a highly entertaining but also horrifying movie. It's still scary to this day. It's scary to watch.
Another film ahead of its time was John Carpenter's Halloween in 1978. That is just maybe the best spooky season film ever, the best Halloween movie ever, in terms of just like the season. Mike Myers, he's just the guy. He's the fucking man.
He's the GOAT.
This movie's incredible. Jamie Lee Curtis, obviously incredible as Laurie. Still making these movies. Sometimes I wish they weren't. But it is what it is. It's a highly successful franchise. Mike Myers carries a lot of weight, gets a lot of butts and seats for theaters. Blumhouse very wisely bought the rights to the future of the films. But this original from John Carpenter is so brilliant, excellent low-budget filmmaking, really cool opening, POV of young Mike, this oneer going all the way around the house, into the house. Great musical themes as well. It's just one of the best horror movies ever made.
I agree.
Hands down.
That's why it's at number 14. And at number 13, it's the movie that haunted me the most as a child. Or one of. Definitely up there. And that's Child's Play. Chucky. The first Chucky movie. Chucky's scary. It's scary. And it's graphic. It's gory. It's a great slasher. But there's just something about the contradiction of an innocent playing doll.
The nice guy.
The nice guy being this horrible, monstrous slasher. And it's so much to the voice acting, too. The voice acting's great for the actor who plays him. And just the animatronics and the puppeteering is great. It's just always been one of the most scariest horror characters ever. And I just remember it was just my nightmare fuel for so long. Hence why it's on the list.
I agree. I had a lot of sleepless nights from nightmares of Chucky.
Had to look in the closet every night for Chucky.
Number 12, we have Aliens, which is fucking awesome. It's a monster movie. Great sequel, one of the all-time best. We did an episode on it a month ago. And this is a scary movie.
Scary.
Especially if you haven't seen it 20 times like Anthony and me. But it's terrifying, once we get to the colony and everything's fucked up.
Yeah.
And the xenomorphs start to come, the pinging on the radar, the scene with the red light in the room welling themselves shut. It's just these Marines against hordes and hordes of xenomorphs. Never seen it on that scale before. We just saw the one in the first film. But then James Cameron mixes it up with dozens and dozens of a whole entire colony of xenomorphs. And, of course, the queen monster xenomorph. Epic movie.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's like Predator. Giant action and giant horror, too. Facehugger scenes are so good in this movie. Just pure. There's some great pure horror in this movie. And still scary. Next up at number 11, we have the South Korean horror thriller mystery, The Wailing, which is a modern movie that's, I think, it really fucked me up after watching it. And after 3 watches, I do think it's just really one of the best of the modern era. The Wailing, it's just a great mystery. I love the use of the shamans in this. It's so cool to see the elements of that culture there. And it's got supernatural elements. It's got brutal elements. And this demonic element to it. It's a great, engrossing film that is just this slowly rising tension from start to finish as things are unfolding, as more murders are being committed and horrific events keep happening. There's a slasher element to it. There's a zombie element to it. There's a demon element to it. There's so many things here in this movie, but somehow it all works. It's like this boiling pot of horror elements. And it's got one of my favorite endings in recent memory, and something that just really just made my skin crawl after it.
All right, we're moving into the top 10 now. What I love about so many horror movies is that they just have the at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because in our top 10, I think half of them are the something. But that's just a really common trend in horror movies. Number 10,
half of them, yeah.
We have Signs.
Not the Signs?
Not the Signs, just Signs. From M. Night Shyamalan. A great alien movie. That was so scary when it came out.
Yeah, it was.
It was a spooky effing movie. And to do this at PG-13 level and keep it this scary, it's really impressive filmmaking and storytelling. And M. Night's just got a great high concepts. I think, some of my favorite scenes are for being terrified are the basement during the attack when they're outside the house and they're trying to board up the windows and the doors. Not to mention
cornfield at night.
Yeah, the cornfield.
When he sees the leg of it.
So scary.
When he's on the other side of the door and looking using the knife for the reflection.
Even when you see the alien on the camcorder footage of, like, in Mexico, there was someone got footage of one of the aliens at a birthday party walking around. Shockingly scary. This movie scared the hell out of me.
And Sixth Sense is very scary, but I think Signs has many more scares in it. And the Sixth Sense is more of a really engrossing horror drama. And there are some scares in it, but it's not quite on the level of has scariest Signs. I mean, Mel Gibson walking in the dark cornfield was terrifying. He did such a good job with this movie. Next up at number 9, For all you spelunking nerds and cave divers, we got The Descent.
They're not cave diving in this.
Whatever, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. But The Descent.
Sure make backing out of the driveway a lot easier. Batman Begins.
The Descent is one of my favorite scary horror movies, and it's we saw this in theaters, and it was fucking terrifying. This group of friends, they go on this cave diving trip. I don't know what you would call it, like adventuring, like exploring. Yeah, what's that called? Like,
I guess. Let me see if there's a specific word.
And so they go on this trip through caverns, and it's revealed by the leader that she actually lied to the friends. This is an undiscovered cave system, and they get trapped. So they don't know where they are, and they don't know how to get out, so they have to find their way out. And pretty quickly, they soon discovered that a bunch of monstrous humanoid beings live there and survive on on flesh of animals, and they all start getting hunted and attacked and killed by these monstrous beings. It is so goddamn scary. It's exciting. It's shocking. I love the monster designs. It's these you can imagine they're humans who over centuries or even longer have been living underground and have adapted to lack of light and how they have to survive. It's just such a good movie. Oh my God, it's so scary. I really like The Descent a lot.
Number 8, Jaws. This movie's amazing. It's one of the best directed films of all time. It's terrifying. And so many horror movies use the blueprint of Jaws. And Spielberg, of course, his plan wasn't to hide the shark for as long as possible. The sharks were malfunctioning on set, so they were forced to hide the shark, but it ended up being one of the best parts of the movie is not really seeing it until halfway through the movie and towards the third act. And this is sort of just the classic, I think, blueprint for how to show your monster in the best way possible is by slowly revealing it and saving it as long as possible, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, that opening when the first girl gets taken, the music, the way he shot it, it's just so brilliant. And then, man, when the shark jumps on top of the boat, are you kidding me? And when he breaks through the glass, it still gets me, man. It's so good. At number 7, we have The Silence of the Lambs, one of our favorite films of all time. What makes Silence of the Lambs so scary is not just Hannibal Lecter, but Buffalo Bill is also, he lives in the shadow of Lecter. But Buffalo Bill is terrifying. He's a really scary villain. He's someone who never really gets put on lists or gets his due when people talk about great movie villains because everybody talks about Lecter. But man, he's such a great serial killer. He's terrifying. And it really comes down to, it's the finale, man. It's Clarice in the basement trying to find Buffalo Bill. And it's 10 minutes of straight terror. And I think it's the scariest scene ever made, in my opinion, is Clarice going through the basement in Silence of the Lambs. It's the scariest thing ever put on film, I'd say.
It's up there. Number 6, Ridley Scott's Alien is a horror fest, so ahead of its time, a remarkable film. We did an episode on it last month. You know, the birth of the xenomorph and the birth of Ellen Ripley in the same film. What a picture.
Many births.
So many births. Sorry. Need a cup of coffee.
James's description of Alien.
So many births. Facehugger births. But it's amazing. We got probably the best movie monster of all time.
Yeah.
With the xenomorph. And the facehugger is pretty close up there too. And this is a great, great film. And, you know, there's not much else to be said.
We did
about
a great episode on it
just go
last
through
month.
the episode. I mean, it's Alien.
We all, you know,
We've all seen
the
it.
thing. You know the births.
You know the births. So many births.
I think you turned people off the movie. At number 5, we have The Shining, Kubrick's horror classic. It's a movie so filled with dread and unease and an amazing finale. The last 30 minutes is just amazing. Iconic moments. You guys know The Shining. I mean, these top tier ones, we don't have to talk too much.
It's like number 4, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Wes Craven, Freddy Krueger.
It's so scary.
It's incredible.
It's so scary.
Practical filmmaking at its best. I wish movies in the horror genre specifically would get creative, because I think with A Nightmare on Elm Street, it's one of those examples. It's this really high concept ideas, making this in the 1980s. How do we show dreamscapes blended with reality, practical filmmaking, the hand coming through the wall?
Yeah.
That would be CGI today. The blood pouring through the bed and Johnny Depp's character being sucked in. That would be CGI today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being forced to be creative, I think, creates these incredible movie moments. And I think in Nightmare on Elm Street, they were forced to do it. Just like that's all they had. So that's why the genius is there. And I think that A Nightmare on Elm Street is so timeless because of that.
It's a beautiful movie. I mean,
so beautiful.
As a kid and teenager, is always just like so scary to me.
The thing with The Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy, you don't even have to see the movie to know that it's scary and be scared of Freddy Krueger himself. Terrifying. You know who he is. He exists. You see him on posters and trailers and stuff, and like you're just afraid to even watch the movie because of him.
I think Freddy's the best slasher.
It's possible.
I think he is. He's number one on my list. All right, we're in the top 3. At number 3, we have The Exorcist, one of the best movies ever made, flat out. Incredible, pitch perfect directing from Friedkin. But it's just one of the most traumatizing movies ever made, and I think that it's just so special. It's terrifying, from head spinning to walking down the steps upside down, floating above the bed, the voices, the prosthetic work, the shaking bed. There's so many things in this movie. It's one of my favorite episodes we've done is our episode on The Exorcist. I just think it's just such a special film. I think it's the greatest horror movie ever made. But in terms of scariest, it's not number 1. It's almost there. It's number 3. But it's just one of a kind.
Number 2, we have The Thing. Brilliantly directed film from John Carpenter. One of the best movie monsters to ever exist. It exists, if not the best movie monster. He's up there.
It was
with
the
Xenomorph.
birth of the Thing.
The birth of the Thing. The Thing from another world.
Yeah.
And this has to be the best remake ever. The Thing has to be the best remake of all time. There's nothing that even comes close. Evil Dead's kind of there. But The Thing is an absolute masterpiece in filmmaking. John Carpenter's a genius. At the end of the day, that's really all you have to say about this film. Just the most incredible whodunit in Alaska, in the middle of nowhere. All these survivors trying to find out who's the alien.
It's basically an Agatha Christie movie. All right. I wonder what our number 1 pick is for the scariest movie of all time. Now, I put this at number 1. Do you completely agree with me, or do you have...
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I think that at number 1, there's really only one choice for what the scariest movie ever is, and that's the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre from Tobe Hooper. This is the most visceral, raw, brutal, disturbing, disgusting, haunting horror film ever made. It combines so many elements of horror in exciting new ways. A lot of it comes down to not just the practical prosthetics work and special effects and everything, but the way he shot it was so visceral and realistic and gritty. Lots of handheld work, which was still pretty new for the day. He really got you in there. And you feel... What's so scary is you feel so immersed in the world. And you feel trapped just like the characters do. And like no escape. And there's so much to it. It's not just Leatherface, but it's the family too, man. I mean, when she's strapped to that chair and she's having dinner with that family, oh my God. It's like being trapped in hell, man. And on top of that, the kills are so brutal. Being hanged on the hook. The chainsaw sequences. Man, Leatherface, such an iconic villain. The design, the idea behind it. And also, this is one of the... it's based on a true story, loosely based on real events, and that makes it even more seriously terrifying. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is really, in my opinion, just the scariest thing that's ever been put on film overall.
It's so disturbing, and one of the most powerfully built atmospheres, I think, in a movie ever. It just feels so real. It feels like you're there. It feels like you're right next to all the rotting food and moldy furniture and dusty walls, and it feels like you're in there. It's just visceral and disgusting. And the first time Leatherface puts someone on a hook, holy fucking shit, man, that's terrifying.
When he opens that false door,
yeah.
Oh my God.
This movie's insane.
Oh my god, man!
It's absolutely brilliant. Brilliant movie. The scariest movie of all time.
It's scariest. I don't think that even we went through so many great horror films, but it's just on like another level of just pure horror.
Yeah. It's a masterpiece. It really is.
Yeah, it is.
It's excellent. All right, well, that wraps our list of, in our opinion, the 75 scariest movies of all time. Let us know what your list would look like, what your scariest movie of all time would be. If we made any mistakes, we can't wait to see those. To find someone
I'm sure we made some.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple. And take care, everybody.
See you next time.